All right, everyone. I'd like to welcome everyone to the Historic Preservation Commission meeting for the town of Amherst for August 20th, 2024. Can we have a roll call, please?
Mancuso, Swartz,
Here.
Waterman Culpa,
Here.
Hershey,
Here.
Kenzie,
Here.
Amplement,
Present.
Wright.
Here.
For Resource, Stiver.
Here.
And for the town, Marinucci, Fidel here, Quinn,
Here.
Robshaw, or
Alba from the town attorney's office. Hi, everybody.
okay, and Howard.
Thank you. I was reminded by the staff that if you're going to be speaking, please turn your microphones on and so everyone can hear you clearly. Thank you. All right, so our first item is the minutes approval from the June 11th meeting. I will give everyone just a minute to look it over. I didn't have any changes. If anyone has any changes, please let me know. And if not, I would like someone to make a motion to accept.
Just a minor grammar error, but otherwise I would make a motion to approve.
Do I have a first by Ms. Kenzie? Do I have a second?
Aye.
Do you have anything you're scrutinizing?
No, I wasn't here and I saw my name, but it was in reference to a previous meeting, so.
Okay. Second by Ms. Wright. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
And I'll abstain because I was not here.
Oh, I'm sorry.
1, 2, 3, 4. You still have
4 ayes and 2 abstentions. Motion carries 4-0 to 2. Okay, we'll move on to new business. We received an inquiry about the War of 1812 Cemetery quarter-mile historic marker. This is located on Arrow Drive, close to Worley. There we see it on the map. It is indeed in the town of Amherst. So,
Is that it?
yep. James Quinn from the planning office put a lot of homework into this and researched the methodology and then researched ownership. So the ownership reverts to the town of Amherst. It was erected by the landmark.
New York State Department of Education at the time in
Department of Education.
1939.
Thank you, James. But it is now reverted to town of Amherst ownership. So the council reached out to us for a recommendation. I emailed a recommendation to James. You want me to read it out, or what do you want me to?
I don't have it in front of me, but
Okay.
essentially it was guidance in how to first repair the peeling paint and then restore new paint onto the sign and a protective coating.
Yep. So I sent a communication to the planning department with a scope of work. Planning department confirmed that the town highway department has personnel in place that is willing to perform the work. Unless anyone has any other objection on this board, I am free to allow the town of Amherst to go ahead with their internal restoration of this.
agreed per your scope that you emailed on June 17th to James and I at 12:58 p.m.
Okay. I don't even think we need to make a motion. It was just an item of inquiry. Does that seem right?
Well, essentially, we are A, agreeing that it does have value as a historic marker, and B, that it is in the town's best interest to maintain the sign going forward. The location is in highway department's jurisdiction to maintain, so we wanted to make sure that we gave them proper guidance on how to do that. If the answer to A is that yes, it is valuable to the town, which I think that's what we're indicating here today, we just want to make sure we're specific to the highway department for their instruction and how the best way to go about maintaining that sign is.
Dan, could you come up to the mic? Sorry.
Skirt.
The only question I would have was that scope shared with the highway superintendent?
I did not share that with the highway superintendent yet.
Okay, so he indicated a willingness to do the work, but he hadn't seen the scope. So I haven't seen the scope either. I don't know if there's anything in the scope that would be unusual or something beyond their capability. So I would say you need to pass that by him. It might be fine. I can't speak for him.
Understood.
I would say that it is in the town's best interest. The plaque is in very decent condition, and with a new finish, we're gonna get another, 20, 30 years out of it. So and it seems extremely affordable. It's not an item that needs intensive restoration. Just basically repainting it. But let's confirm, yes? Sure.
I will do that immediately in the morning.
Thank you.
Excuse me, just the location, the cemetery's on Arrow Drive, correct?
Yes, in Cheektowaga.
No.
And,
Yes, it's not located in the town of Am.
Property.
but,
Yeah,
the-
it's not
but then this sign is on Main Street?
No, Arrow Drive.
Okay, I thought I saw a reference to, no, I'm jumping down to item 2. Okay, all right, and it's a quarter mile away, basically.
Yep.
Yeah, I
Okay.
think that's what it says.
Yep. Yeah, thanks.
And there is a preservation brief, number 25, for the preservation of historic signs that could be examined by Highway as well, if they're looking for additional information as to the method.
Okay.
Is the sign itself historic? The plaque?
No indication on our historic surveys. No, it's not identified or noted. This was simply, we received a complaint through the town board. Of course, it was referred to myself and Dan Howard in the planning department. We did the research to make sure whose property it was on. It's Erie County right away. Erie County didn't want to take responsibility or look to maintain. We checked in with the New York State Department of Education and the New York State Archives. They said it's completely up to the local jurisdiction. So, doing our due diligence, we wanted to make sure, A, was our responsibility, and then if it is, what's the proper way to go about handling it? And apparently, there were no guidelines that were provided to me by not only the New York State Education Department, but also the foundation that typically advises to the maintenance of these signs. They said, there were no standards that they advised to me, at least. Now, again, it's not the actual site. It's a quarter mile away, which it does, in fact, have its own sign at the site location itself. So we have this sign in an odd location that has no owner, except for the fact that it's in the town of Amherst.
It's a unique road marker that's in pretty good condition with a little bit of restoration.
So I did find a little information. It says the New York State Education Department stopped making historic marker post signs in 1966 when it repealed the State Historic Marker Program. The program was originally started in 1926 to commemorate the 150th anniversary of the Revolutionary War and was managed by the State Education Department's State History Office. The program's responsibilities included identifying and restoring historic sites, preparing interpretive literature, and creating signs and markers. The program ran again in the mid to late 1960s when the state placed large blue and yellow signs along rest stops on major highways. However, the state eventually ran out of funding and stopped maintaining the markers.
Okay. I'm happy to review the scope as a conservator and just see if there's anything in there that I would comment on. But if the sign itself is not a historic artifact and it's just a sign, then that would not, it doesn't seem necessary, but if I'd be happy to, if that's something that.
I agree. It was definitely put in place in the 1960s, which makes it well over 50 years old. And
Okay.
It does say that local authorities have the responsibility for approving, installing, and maintaining historic markers in the state of New York. So
Okay.
I think it's completely appropriate to ask Dr. Stiver to
Okay.
review the scope and, you know, work with highway and planning to make it happen.
Yeah, I'm happy to do that.
Thank you.
Thank you.
I think what his understanding was is simply to sandblast it and paint it. So I guess the other thing to keep in mind, if this gets more extensive than that, then then it's a budget issue, I suspect. So just keep that in mind.
Understood. Yeah.
Usually the scope, it's about appropriately removing the paint. And so that's where appropriately removing and then using the appropriate paint to repaint it. That's usually what preservation, their input into this type of restoration would include.
Okay.
Okay.
Okay. If we don't have any other commentary, James, are we satisfied with that?
Yes, I have specific instruction, thank you.
Okay. All right, we'll move on to item number 2. This is a local landmark application for 4467 Main Street. Ms. Wright has taken quite a big role in doing the research on this property. And we've agreed to get some drafts together first week of September to review. We are not in a position, well, actually, I don't feel we're in a position to recommend this for landmarking at this meeting. But if we happen to get enough information in a draft for criterias 2, 4, and 5, 2, 4, and 2, 4, and 1.
Yes, 1. Oh, I think, well, that's what we talked about, yeah.
Yep. Then we would feel more confident at the September meeting. But not yet. I don't know if any other members done any work on this property. I only think Ms. Wright has. Nope.
Yeah, I mean, I went to the downtown library, dug through everything here, Town of Amherst, and online, and really there's not much else. So now we have to make like a different argument for the building itself.
Yeah, it's people and places, the relevancy of the people that made the site what it is today. Definitely local figures have high importance. And familiarity, that's the one that, and then the architectural description.
Yeah, I think it could stand alone as a very good example of colonial architecture in the town. Or colonial revival.
Yes.
Just a question, to be landmark, it only has to meet one of the categories, right?
It does. Only
Yep.
have to meet one.
Yep, and in this case, we think it's at least 2 with a possibility of a 3rd.
Oh, and I also went to all of the libraries here too and dug through the entire Amherst section, so not much there, but
I'll look, did you look in like Joseph Grande's book and,
yeah,
okay.
yeah.
So you've covered all the normals?
Yeah.
Okay. As I said, I could look through those quickly. Okay.
So I will make a motion to adjourn. Do I have a second?
I'll second.
Second by Ms. Waterman Culpa. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Motion carries 6-0.
Oh,
Okay, thank you.
1, 2.
We'll move to item number 3. This is one that we went and met with the homeowners. We had Councilman Marinucci there. We had a few board members there. This was a great success. You can see the pictures up there. I'd like to actually put them on the website if we're able to. They were extremely thrilled to receive this gift. and they're going to be installing it at their home. And if no one else has any other things they'd like to add, I'd like to go ahead and remove this one from our agenda.
I do have a quick question.
Yeah, go ahead.
I don't know if we've thought about, but if submitting some of these pictures to Amherst Lee or something, they said it's already been landmarked, but they were so, like, when we were there. and we were
Definitely.
very proud. It might be something that they want to run, that, like, they now have their plaque type thing. I don't know if that's something I could do, I don't want to.
I'm unsure if this board has done something like this, but I'd be totally in favor with it. Good press, absolutely.
Yeah, right, and they were so happy, they
Yeah.
really wanted this, you know, so like.
I agree. We typically, for town publishing or some kind of informational, we work through staff member in the supervisor's office. So Jessica O'Neill. So that might be something that's best yeah.
I think it's a fantastic idea. I'm sure Mary Lou would also.
Yeah, I think so.
I don't want to speak for her, but she ended up writing a little speech for them, and she presented it to them. She did the work on that landmark application. Well, okay. With that said, though, I would like to make a motion to remove this item from our agenda now that it's completed. Do I have a second?
I'll second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Motion carries 6-0. Thank you. Okay, item number 4, our 2024 CLG grant submission. Do we have a report from Ms. Waterman Culpa?
Sure. We just recently received a letter stating that the town did not receive the grant award this year.
Yeah, we were pretty hopeful. We did meet with members of SHPO back in April. We were more hopeful that we could have a successful application, and unfortunately, didn't go through this time. So we will put that project on hold and see what the objective of the grant is for next year. Because I believe they change it. Did they change the types of grants that are available every year? I know some state entities do that.
Yes.
Okay.
But I also believe that, they keep very tight watch on municipalities that they're thinking about funding.
Okay.
And they like to make sure that the municipalities understand the importance of historic preservation. And they want to make sure that they're supporting those municipalities that support historic preservation. So I think that, this might be a townwide campaign as well from all levels of government
Okay.
to try to secure funding in the future.
Okay. So for this, since it was denied, we have no further action on this. I'd like to make a motion to remove this from our agenda.
I'll second it.
Second by Ms. Waterman Culpa. All in favor?
Aye.
Motion carries 6-0. Okay, item number 5 was 2024 Preservation Day, held on August 3rd. Most of the members attended. I would say it was a mild success. We had some really great presentations, awesome presentations from the people that came. I would have loved a higher attendance figure. Obviously, I think the weather played into it. But we just met prior to this meeting to go over some plans for the next Preservation Day. And I think spun off of that, we've decided to try to do an HBC roundtable with local municipalities. Do you think that should be a new agenda item?
Sure.
All right, maybe we'll do that for the next meeting. But for now, I think we can, unless any other member has any other comment, we can wrap up the 2024 Preservation Day item on our agenda. Does anyone have anything to add?
I think that it's important to send thank you notes to those that spoke, as well as those that helped us accomplish the goal. So I'll be thanking Highway Superintendent Steve Floss, as well as Town Clerk Spoth, for their help in some of the logistics of getting signage up around the town, as well as Mary Diana Pooley, for her role in allowing us to put signage at some of the community buildings. So thank you notes. And does Dr. Cyber want to say anything about Preservation Day? Like what the estimated attendance was? Because we did change the
Sorry.
format
I'm
this
sure.
year.
Yeah, I think it's useful to make sure that it's noted in the minutes that we did change the format quite significantly this year. The photos that are up on the screen represent sort of the previous format where we had outdoor activities. We were sort of targeting family group visitation, and we changed the format this year to more of an educational presentation sort of speaker series throughout the day. And I think that with the shift in format, I would say it was a success. We had about 150 visitors throughout the day, based on my staff's count, which I think for, an indoor first year, speaker series is quite good. And we did have folks going out in the village, even though it was raining, we had tours available. So I think it was quite successful, but we certainly want to continue growing our visitation for future years. And I think that this format is something that we're thinking about carrying forward and trying to expand, because as we've learned from doing this in previous years, the weather can be very tricky on this particular weekend that we've chosen for Preservation Day. So switching to an indoor format was really helpful for us this year because it was raining all day. So it worked out great.
Yep, agreed. Thank you. And thank you for your partnership with this event.
Yeah. Agreed. Thank you. Actually, yeah, I think sending thank you notes to the presenters is also something I would take on. I'll craft a letter
Okay.
and forward those on. I'll get someone in planning to review them. I'll send them to you, Carrie, so you can, look at them first. Okay, that's a good idea. Thank you. Unless there's anything else, I think this can come off our agenda as well. Unless you want to keep it on, we can make a new item for our next event that we're planning.
Yes.
Okay. So I'll make a motion to remove 2024 Preservation Day from our agenda. Do I have a second?
I will second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Motion carries 6-0. Thank you. Okay, on to old business. Item number 6, the local landmark plaques on the Main Street entranceways.
So if you don't mind, I'll jump in on this one.
Thank you.
Last meeting, prior to our break, we went over the plaques, and we have these two Main Street corridor plaques available now that we've purchased. We were not quite satisfied with the locations of the plaques. We had concerns over not having a flush area for the plaques to go on. Myself and Dan Howard made it a point to go out and check out some alternative locations on the entranceways. I've taken pictures and are ready to present them to you guys. So if you don't mind, right here is our map visual indicating each of the locations along the Main Street corridor. We found that perhaps an idea for a location would be along the base of the entranceways at Smallwood and Lamarck. These are highly visible. They're very pedestrian friendly. It's a flush surface at the base. And quite frankly, I remember that the Smallwood entranceway was one of the ones that was hit by a car. So there is that risk, but just from the response of that incident, it's a very visible spot on Main Street. Prominent spot in Snyder and Smallwood neighborhood. Matter of fact, it's an eligible district back in that neighborhood. It may be a good location, at least for one of the plaques, to indicate the corridor and the Main Street furniture. I know that those were our concerns. Is it visible? Is it a flush surface? It is pedestrian friendly. I would say being on Main Street and so prominent, I'd be very impressed if anybody was able to remove the plaque without being noticed. But in any case, that was an option we explored and wanted to present to you guys since we have the 2 plaques still. That was just one. We looked at Darwin Drive. Yes, it is visible and pedestrian friendly, but it really lacked those flush surfaces and opportunities. Same with Roycroft. Not to mention it's not all that symmetrical, so there really isn't like a true center spot to put it. But LeBrun offered another good opportunity. It's on the other end of the corridor in comparison to the Main Street, the Smallwood and Lamarck entranceways. Perhaps maybe having one at one end and one at the other to highlight the corridor. Again, we looked at the bases, some decent opportunities there, but also the walls themselves, they are brick, fairly flush surface that's visible to pedestrians. A little bit further down the road, we looked at Westfield Road and Ivyhurst for that matter, very similar walls in the right-of-way. Again, not very flush surfaces, even on the pillars there. There's that sign doesn't quite fit into that area conveniently, but it is pedestrian friendly and visible at a very prominent intersection and location in Eggertsville. So yeah, we looked at Hyde Park as well, kind of a similar story of the not flush surfaces, but it is visible and pedestrian friendly. So in conclusion, we kind of felt, again, Smallwood and Lamarck, strong candidates, if you'd like to have them. At the base, there's a lawn area in between, so it's not like you're walking up to it exactly. It has a little bit of space to the sidewalk. So yeah, again, not super ideal, but we felt these were reasonable locations to have the signs put in place.
So the one comment I have about it being that low to the ground is salt is going to destroy those being so close to the sidewalk. The one on, if you go to LeBrun, there's a spot maybe toward the middle in the grassy area that would work. We would avoid the salt because it's not in the roadway or the sidewalk, but it'll get covered by ice, snow and ice in the winter.
Was-
Yeah, the
was
other on the top
pillar-
picture.
Was the pillar flat enough and wide enough to accommodate the plaque?
Yes.
Yeah, the pit.
Rows
I
there?
remember even Brian
These
Swartz
ones,
and I went out.
these ones in LeBrun were actually probably the most feasible out of all of them to put them up higher at eye level because of the
Yeah,
surface
that's also a
available
good
to it,
option. Yeah.
and you generally want to put them into the mortar joints, not into the brick, which is a lot more feasible on this pair at LeBrun. There's really no other location that are brick. They're all rusticated stone. And I think they look great on the bases because it's a really nice contrast. But the salt would be a huge issue. I don't know how long you get without having to go back and refinish it and advance the cause for refinishing in like a few years instead of a few dozen years. Yeah. Yeah. Yep.
Is that the first one?
Smallwood. Oh, yeah. So the ones across and the ones at the gatehouse?
They're both fairly close to the roadway,
Yep.
obviously.
This one's on Lamarck side, and these two are Smallwood.
The one at the top, except across the street, I don't know, do we have that?
Yeah,
have
that's this
that
one. Yep.
I don't know if you, again, if you wanted it in that location, if you took it back to the other pillar,
Yeah.
which is probably, 10, 12 feet from the roadway, whether that's far enough, I don't know, but if that's the location you wanted to put it in, but there, as you've said before, there's not a lot of places here to secure that without worrying about somebody prying it off or whatever, so.
Can we, is it,
But it's the
Is
other
it
flip
possible-
side, right?
It's the other side of the one on the lower right,
Right, okay.
so it'd be on the opposite side of the street. A good distance from Main Street, but
is it possible to remove the insert off the center of it? Or is it fused together?
screw it on.
Like you're talking about the little section on it, the Main Street corridor. I believe that's secured onto the plaque itself.
I'm not so sure you can unscrew it. That's what you're talking about.
Yeah.
There's four screws on there. Is that what you're, I don't know if that's what you're talking
Yep.
about, Brian.
Yep.
Right there. See the
Yeah,
screws
you can
right
see
there.
'em.
Like, do we just take those small center plaques and do something with those? And then take the bigger plaque and find somewhere else and make a new center one and find a couple other properties? And then we take these small ones that are already created for the street furniture and put them somewhere?
These are, I'm not familiar with these. These are not small.
No, they're
Yeah, they're pretty good size.
not quite 24, 20 inches or so.
I mean, that's a possibility.
28.
Yeah, I mean, I did a little bit of research, and of course, I forgot to send it to myself before the meeting, but I was looking at different materials to adhere to different surfaces that are appropriate in other, like, historic preservation committees and things like that. Or it would be like an added cost, but a lot of people also did a pole situation that would adhere to, and then, but those are like, I can send it to you guys later, but those were other things that were appropriate for things like this.
Would the highway department have the capability to fabricate something that we could attach this to?
They might, I don't know.
It's
They're
yeah.
kind of reluctant to dive into this stuff because they're not confident that what they do actually would meet standards kind of thing. I'm just telling you, they're gonna be a little shy about it.
Okay.
In fact, when I asked them about putting these on, just to get a sense of whether they could do that, they said, well, we could do it, but we're not sure you guys are gonna want them to do it. So to speak, like, if there's some standard they have to meet, if there's things that they have to be careful of, they're just not. It's not what they do on a regular basis, so.
Do you have
Do the sign fabricators do a pole? They must
They
have
do.
that,
They
right?
do.
Yeah, like
I
some of the
think we've
companies
talked
that I
about
saw.
it before.
Yeah.
And even, I love this kind of like location, and even if it's the other one, but to have the pole, and then it's,
eye level?
feet up,
Yeah, that's important.
and then you get rid of all of the,
The only thing I'm gonna say about pole signs, not really
They could,
a favorite form of sign in town.
okay.
And I would, not saying that this is the same thing, I have an inventory of signs on Main Street, as part of the Main Street study. There's over 550 signs on Main Street.
It's too many. I mean,
Might not feel like it is, but
yeah.
there's a lot there. So part
If we're in favor of just moving this along, like putting them both at LeBrun would just, we could be done with it.
Can I offer one more solution?
Yeah, go ahead.
So at LeBron, it does make a lot of sense from what James presented, and that double wide area
Yeah.
with 2 bricks wide to mount it on the mortar joints right there.
Yep.
The taller post possibly to keep it more off the ground.
Yeah.
And what about mounting this one inside of
Oh.
the structure?
Yeah,
Where
on
it
the
seems to
wall.
be a little flatter on the inside right
No,
now?
the wall, no.
It's not?
No. I want it to be, it's not. It's all the same rusticated, hard stone.
Does that go back
Goes
to,
all the
was
way
there
up.
anything that you
Okay.
saw
Yeah. If we-
to
yeah,
mitigate
like-
that?
Yeah, I mean, people put plaques on like stones and stuff like that all the time. So I'll send that along because there were different like braces or different kind of like materials to adhere.
Somebody fabricate something though with the amount of standoffs and the
Right.
distance you would need.
You need something to
portion of the
get like
stone,
put
it's
behind it,
not-
but
It's uneven.
yeah.
But I like that location. I think being inside one of those would just sort of, rather than random pull.
It's a little awkward because it's a one-off. Like, oh, this one got a plaque. Like 10 years from now, people are gonna say, well, why did this one get a plaque and that one didn't? I don't know. Yeah, no, I know.
I think that argument could be said for all of these. Let's have, it's on this side of the street, it's on this side of the street, it's over here, it's over here, and over there, and.
Well, can we start with just doing the one on LeBron for in the meantime?
Yeah, let's get it up.
Yeah.
Where's the map? So where's LeBron I don't know.
Oh, yeah, could you do the map?
Street, like, we were trying to like do one end to the other. Is that still?
It's in the middle.
It's close. I mean, but it's close.
It's at the western end.
Yeah.
But
Those
to
are the-
have one down there and then one in that other grouping seems, I guess, a goal.
Westfield is near St. Benedict.
I think it's a good spot though.
There's missing light standards on all those ones at Westfield. They're supposed to have lanterns on top of them. They're all gone.
A lot of neighborhood signs now are being made out of, I believe it's molded fiberglass. They're cast. Basically, the mold is a negative and the image is molded into that, and then they can be different colors depending on the resin. And but then to get back to the bond, you could bond them to different materials using adhesives. Well, unlike the steel here, so, and they're lighter, easier to support, and they're corrosion resistant, more or less, too. So,
Like for future applications? Maybe?
yeah, we could have
On the street furniture, maybe, yes.
Well,
Maybe, but I don't know.
plaques in general. Particularly in this case, I'm thinking of because of the difficulty in attaching it. I mean, we're looking at securing it to the concrete, right? Because of the weight.
It's some sort of limestone, I think.
So,
I mean, it sounds like, are you suggesting grate foam behind it to create a surface? Like attach it and then we'll spray it in there?
yeah.
I mean, that
well,
could work,
something
right?
like
And then
that.
trim off the grate foam and then suddenly you've got this,
Your surface that you need.
you got the surface to protect the backside.
Yeah, yeah.
Maybe you were thinking a little more technical than that, but that's what I'm deducing.
Yeah, the corrosion is one of my concerns with this.
Yeah.
So do we want to place that one plaque on LeBron? Can we do it on the brick, like in the mortar?
Yeah.
I think that at eye level, I think that's really important.
Yep.
I appreciate you
right
going out,
there.
but like,
Just taking where James is
Yep.
and
Where
him
the sidewalk
standing up,
is.
yeah.
right?
Yep. The one where the sidewalk is, not at the road.
Can we make a motion to put this up?
So which face would you do it on?
I would do it on,
The face that he's directly above where James is now on that drawing, on that photo?
That one?
this one, we're entering from Main Street, so like that one over here. It's just, yeah.
Would you do it parallel to the sidewalk?
Coming in from Main Street, yeah.
The one on the right is the one that pedestrians are gonna see.
Right.
The one.
They're not gonna see something, not likely to see this out here.
Yeah.
But again, it just depends on.
Now, James, is where you're crouching down where the red dot is?
This is just at the other side, the other pillar. This picture down here is that where the red thing is on that pillar.
Yeah. That's it.
Or just go up? Yeah.
What you're saying is put that up on
Like eye
that
level.
one.
Making a motion?
I am making a motion.
It's flat. These two widths create a flat surface, right?
Yeah. Use your other one, Kate, where he's
On the
he's
right
crouching
side.
down on the left. You can reach it better.
Next
Or
picture.
that one, yeah.
So here's the deal.
That one.
That one right there is on the east side
Mhm.
of LeBron, where we have a lot of vegetation. This one over here on the west side of LeBron.
Yep.
That's
I think
LeBron
that's where it should go. Yep.
Okay.
So right there, yeah, where the red dot is, I think.
Right there.
So this is just not to be a total pain here, but, I think we probably need to figure out how these get attached and who attaches them. Same concern.
Yep.
Masonry bit, anchor.
Yeah, and I have all of the studies from other societies and everything that I can send and share to everyone, but we have to figure out who's applying this, so.
I mean, if there is those studies provide some insight into how to do that.
Yes.
Methodologically.
Yeah.
And the highway guys say they can do it, then that's one thing. If they can't, then, and we talked about, Leon Com does stuff for us over at the Veterans Memorial. It's not the same thing. It's engraving, it's not what it is. I'm not sure if they can do this kind of thing, but if there is somebody out there that can do it, and you feel more comfortable and confident that
Does the manufacturer
it's not gonna ruin.
do installations?
They're not local.
A lot of the ones that I saw do the application, but it probably just depends on that.
Okay.
So my sense is that if you're able to give some insight to the highway superintendent, he can make a determination as to whether or not his guys can do it, or it's gonna need some kind of outside. And I know they just get nervous about this stuff.
Sure.
The last thing, can you go back to Lamarck and Smallwood? I don't look at these, I drive by them 4 times a day. And I don't pay a lot of attention to them, but the timbers on both of those are in rough shape.
Yep.
They're highly exposed. You can see they're starting to kind of split. I don't know how that would get addressed, but I would tell you, this is the time of year for capital improvements. Kate's gonna kill me because Republicans are gonna go nuts if I introduce another CIP project to his consideration. But honestly, if someone could look at those and determine what it would take to, not just to bring them up to some level where we're confident that they're gonna
Yeah, there's,
sustain the weather and the climate.
Someone did a stab test to see if the wood is completely rotted.
I don't know. I mean,
it needs a bit of destructive testing. It needs someone that, you could do a, what's it called? There are products out there that you can apply to wood to make them stable.
It's like a Bondo.
Yeah, it's a marine grade epoxy is what I've used in the past on wood window restorations. But you would need a craftswoman, whoever that could perform this work in order to do it. Because it's rough hewn and you want to maintain that look. Like, we don't want it to be super polished and perfect. That's the point of those.
My recommendation, based on this experience, is it might be worthwhile for someone who knows what they're doing to look at those. Maybe one of you can just go out and ascertain whether or not, that we're at a point where things are starting to deteriorate, or whether it doesn't matter, it's gonna be fine. But either way, if there's some action that should be taken now or in the near future to make sure that they're preserved, it probably wouldn't hurt to do that sooner.
Can we add this as an agenda item for our next meeting as a request from the town planning office to review? I mean, we're off. Yeah, sure, but I want to make it, I want to put it on our,
We need some subject matter expertise.
Sure.
I mean, we can help facilitate some of that, but we need some subject matter expertise on it, for sure.
Okay.
Someone's familiar and willing to go out with us to kind of look at it and make an assessment.
Definitely. Yeah, I'd be happy to do that.
And again, I have no idea what it would cost to do that. It's
You're
something.
talking about just these two structures at Smallwood? Or are there other?
Those are the only ones with wood.
I think they have timbers.
Yep. Okay.
You have a thought about what that would be, Brian? Just order of magnitude?
Cost?
Order of magnitude.
I think it depends on the scope and like we
I
we
mean-
can't see the top and
Yeah, without,
know how much rock
I mean,
there
almost like
is.
taking a ladder and getting up in there. I know there's bird screen up there. Actually, looking at the roof, they've done tar pitch repairs on copper instead of copper flashing, so I'm sure water's getting it into there. I mean, to talk about a proper restoration, we're like,
I'm just trying to get a sense, because, again, it's, I don't think, if it's a capital project, and it's fairly expensive, it's gonna end up going into the capital improvement program.
okay,
It's a 6-year program. So if you look at that and you say, in the next 3 years, we're gonna have issues here.
okay.
Then we ought to propose a project to put in the CIP for 2 or 3 years out, whatever it might be, the timing might be. Part of that's dependent on the budget and all the other competing projects, but I'd get something in.
Okay. Yeah, I mean, if we're talking like restoration of copper, like big time, I mean, we're talking probably 6 figures for these.
That's so
But,
$100,000 is the cutoff for a capital project for the town. It's that much, and if it's not feasible to get that information together in a relatively short period of time, then I would say, you wait till next year to propose it. Budget's kind of going towards some kind of finalization of the draft proposed budget in the next couple of weeks, several weeks, 3 or 4 weeks. So this would be new. I can have a conversation, see whether or not I'm willing to entertain that
yeah.
out year.
Yeah, well, so anything over $20,000 in construction value on a, this would be a capital, I would say a capital improvement or a restoration. It needs an architectural stamp. That's SED law. So you would need a set of design documents, stamped set of documents in order to perform this work, because you're going to need to pull a permit to do it. But I'm happy to look at it, scope of work of what it would take.
So let's do that sooner than later.
Okay.
Time, and then maybe we can then determine what the timing is for any kind of request.
And I would advise that the town architect be present at that meeting, since the town architect is probably who should draw up the documents.
Yeah.
Yep.
Grab Ann.
Fine. Should we all, okay, I'll set up a meeting with James and Ann and yourself, and we'll figure it out.
Change your availability.
Okay.
Maybe even this week, we'll grab, see if we can grab on some time with Ann and go out and look at it.
Good. Okay, so that veered off a bit, but it's plaque related. Okay, Ms. Wright was gonna possibly make a motion,
Yes, can I make a motion to adhere, install the plaque on LeBrun?
I would like to amend by adding, if you could send along the installation method that you've researched to the town planning office, so they can make a determination on feasibility and personnel. And then we also need to confirm an exact location along the pillar, or which pillar and which direction on the pillar.
And height.
I can draft up a map and everything that has the exact measurements of it. Yeah.
Perfect. So that's part of the amendment, is Ms. Wright will provide a document showing the height, location, and methodology for installation. Do I have a second?
I will second.
All right. All in favor of installing one of the plaques onto the street furniture at LeBrun?
Aye.
Aye.
Motion carries 6-0. Thank you. So I would actually, I don't know, should I move it into new business? Can we do that for next meeting?
What's that?
Move this item into new business? I mean, it's old, but it's becoming new if we're taking an action.
Yeah,
Make a
I
motion
don't,
to
I
do
don't,
that?
yeah.
Motion to adjourn?
You could simply adjourn it. Thanks, Sam. Yeah.
I don't know. What do I do?
You can just keep this, I think, under old business.
Okay.
And because it's still open, we still have one more plaque to deal with.
Right.
And you can add a new item for Main Street entrance at Smallwood
Okay.
under new business.
Okay, we'll do that for next meeting. Okay. So then we took an action on this and we'll leave it in old business. Okay. On to item number 7, the education plan, website plan, and presentations. This includes our training. Ms. Kenzie, can you give an update on the training?
Well, hopefully, everyone finally received confirmation about our membership in the NAPC. And if you have any questions, don't hesitate to reach out to that Marie. They're probably the best ones. But what I did learn out of it is, so James is the administrator and keeper of our account, so no one needs to log in per se as your own membership. You can just access the few free things as she kind of outlined them in the links and such in her email. So that should be fine. And then just a quick note, I think there's plenty on there. I know in the years past, we've done like very scheduled trainings with PBN and that does not appear to be the case this year. So each of us has 4 hours they should get, I think by the end of the year, right, Kate?
Yes.
So just kind of on your own time, because these are all like whenever it's convenient for you to kind of go in and then pick one. I think there was at least a dozen to 15, 20 or something.
There was 2 pages worth of previous trainings that were available now that we could all click on.
Yeah. So pick ones. I would say just, pick something that interests you and then just make sure to document like the date and the hours that it was, because then I think at some point we're going to need to collect that from each
Yep.
of us.
In November, if you have, whatever training you have done, please submit it in November.
Okay, so that's
that
the
we can.
deadline's more November, not the
We
end
can
of
have
the
it for the end of year report.
Okay.
Yep.
And then there's the other, I think they call it the Alliance, and that's like their newsletter and forums. So and then the resource section kind of seemed interesting in terms of like a library offering with obviously different resources and stuff that's all geared toward preservation commissions. So, yes, hopefully that'll work out for everybody.
Okay. Thank you. Is there anything on the website, James? Anything new?
Any new updates or trainings? No. Nope. I would suppose I'm just going to follow up on the pictures from the 38 Richfield plaque presentation.
Yep.
I can have those added to the website. I would just perhaps maybe a short caption for the visit, and then that could be pending Jessica O'Neill's publication to the Amherst Bee, depending on how that conversation goes.
And then if anyone has pictures from this Preservation Day, if we could upload them to the website, that would be also nice. The ones we have on there are a couple years old.
Yeah, I have one from each speaker, and then we took a group photo at the end of the day, so I can send you that.
That'd be great. Thanks.
Appreciate that. Okay, that concludes old business. Does anyone have anything they'd like to add to the agenda?
You want to go off agenda?
Yeah.
Okay, I'll make a motion to go off agenda.
Okay, so this is adding a new item.
Actually, you make the motion. I rescind my motion. Go ahead, you make the motion. It's your deal.
It's my deal. But you're talking.
What am I talking about?
Yeah, the work session, that's right. So I'd like to make a motion to add an item to our agenda to develop a work session with the town board. Do I have a second?
I'll second.
Seconded by Ms. Waterman Culpa. So this is a new item. I went to the working.
You gotta vote.
Oh, I'm sorry.
You
we
gotta-
need
gotta
to-
vote
I'm
to
sorry, we
approve.
need to vote on that. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Motion carries 6-0. Thank you. Okay, so I attended a working session last night at the town board. Ms. Marinucci was there. We discussed various items, including the St. Mary's decision, and then it got into our process. And actually, I took a couple notes, which I should reference. Yep, we got into statute, collaboration with other boards, and then the HPC process. So we would like to, we agreed last night with town supervisor and members of the board. We're also interested in attending a work session with us. So we would like to schedule a date to go over our statute, its importance, sort of like a educational work session with the town board. Does anyone else have any commentary? Okay.
So will, except for will that a mutually agreed upon date be worked on by, James, can you help us out with that?
Yeah, are we able to schedule this with the town planning office? Who do we schedule this with?
Would we want it to be ahead of one of the meetings here, or maybe 6 to 7? I think open meetings law will require us to post it, because hopefully there will be more than 3 town board members at the time.
Correct.
Yep.
So if we did it on a night, I just throwing it out there.
Sure.
I know town board nights are hard, but if we wanted to do HPC night, maybe an hour before, I don't know.
Are you suggesting having it before an HPC meeting?
Like an HPC, whatever, the September, October meeting, something like that, and then give us time to put it up. I mean, I can.
That seems reasonable. I suppose is the proper person or proper avenue to ask the town clerk, simply because they make that agenda?
They schedule it.
I mean, I can send like an informal email, like within the town, or
Okay.
just saying like, hey, these are the upcoming meetings, does this work with any of you, and then go from there, because it'll have to go on the schedule.
Right.
I'm just thinking if we already have those dates on our calendar, at least with this group, it might work better, no, what do you think?
Yeah, I think it's great. We're all,
So that would be September 10th or then October 8th are our next.
Yeah, at one of those meeting ones, whatever, I'll send the next 3.
Hopefully,
out and see if-
the board members
If it's-
are available.
If it's just a training and there's no action items, it's not subject to open meetings law, so you wouldn't need to
Yeah,
worry
it's-
about
it's-
certain scheduling.
yeah, it's a discussion about our statute, you know, the type of work we do, the type of things we receive in our process.
So we could simply send out an invitation to town board members to attend a work session with the
Send out a
historic
doodle.
preservation.
Dates.
Yeah. Yeah, I can help coordinate that, and coordinate with Angela to send out that invitation.
Okay.
And then if none of the dates work, we can.
We'll recircle, yeah.
And we're aiming for one of our meeting nights.
Yeah.
Okay.
At least preliminarily.
Makes sense to me. Okay. Thank you. Anyone else have any other commentary on the item?
So make a motion to go back on the agenda.
How much time are we allocating?
1 hour.
1 hour, yeah. Yeah. Thank you. All right, I'd like to make a motion to go back onto the agenda. Do I have a second? Second by Ms. Waterman Culpa. All in favor?
Aye.
Motion carries 6-0. All right, that concludes everything on our agenda except for the miscellaneous section. Does any board member have anything they'd like to add or discuss? All right, hearing none, I'd like to make a motion to adjourn.
8 o'clock.
I'll second.
Second by Ms. Waterman Culpa. All in favor?
Aye.
Motion carries 6-0. Meeting is adjourned. Thank you.